How you doing, kids? We are in a very smoky scene here in the background. Klamath Falls, Oregon. And I'm going to tell you guys a story about the time I lost Jesus. Stay tuned. I'm going to tell you guys a story. And I've been trying to record this for a few days now, and every time I start rambling, it just gets a little too much. And either the battery dies on my GoPro over here, or I lose interest and forget what I was talking about. Oh, these fucking truckers. Seriously, other people have to drive out of here, and y'all just want to fucking block everything. And here's the thing, you don't have to stay at a truck stop. There's no law saying, when you're done driving, you have to stop at a truck stop. Friggin' go a few miles down the road. And I was supposed to go out that way, but I go out this way so I can hit the pre-pass and maybe be able to bypass the scale that's probably open right now. But yeah, you don't have to sleep at a truck stop. Go a few miles down the road. This is Oregon. There's open country. There's plenty of room on the side of the road in some spots. Just park out there. But, I don't know. To each their own. Trucking invites all sorts of different kinds of people, and sometimes they just do things their way, and there's no way to deviate from it. It's just the way it goes. So yeah, pretty sure that scale house is open. I don't want to deal with it. I'm in a hurry tonight. When I see a turn signal, doesn't mean it works. I'm gonna go. I don't know if you guys remember from driver's ed, but did the teacher ever ask you, what does it mean when you see a left turn signal? And half the class would raise their hand and go, that means they're turning left. Like, nope. That means the left turn signal works. Yeah, scale's open. Here's a little pre-pass thing. So that just weighed the truck. And then this little thing right here is going to read my pre-pass on the windshield and give me a green light. Nothing. So no light whatsoever, same as a red light. So you got to pull into the scales. Oh, not too happy about that. I'll have to speak to the manager later. I am going to shut off the red light. Hopefully you guys can still see what I'm doing over here. I'll turn the camera a little bit so you can see in front. How about that? You see all right? Using my super wide angle lens there. They want you to shut your headlights off. That way their little plate reader can read your front license plate. And you're supposed to roll across the scales at 3 miles an hour. So I don't know if you can see in the lights here at the scales, but they're pointed at your tires, so they can see if you got a flat tire or anything crazy going on. 11,650. The drive should be 24, 23.8, and the trailer should be 24. What am I sitting at? 23.6. So the scale here is a little bit off, but not by much. So yeah, how do you guys like that camera angle? You want me to work with that? It's kind of a different angle, right? Get get out here on the highway. And Mel is a beast tonight. This truck's hauling ass. I'm not too heavy, so a sweet running truck. Speed limit is 60 miles an hour in Oregonia, and it's safe to go 63, 65. You know, when you get away from these little areas where there's houses and businesses and stuff. But shall we start our little red light ramble in here? You guys ready for it? Let's go. All right. The story I've been trying to tell here for a couple days, and I just haven't figured out the best way to tell the story. It was in my book, Trucking Bad. I think it was chapter 5 or chapter 6, but it was called I Lost Jesus. And I was at Sierra, England. I was a trainer. I was probably about 6 months into being a trainer there. And I enjoyed it. I like helping people and showing them how to drive a semi-truck's kind of cool. And I got paired up with this dude that Sierra, England took out of the homeless shelter. And they did that quite often, which is okay. You know, if somebody's homeless and they're off of drugs and they can pass a follicle test and a drug test, and you can have felonies and still be a truck driver. It's just got to be, you know, nothing violent or anything. But they would bring homeless people, and this dude that they paired up with me, forget what his name was. That's a funny story because I I gave him his name. So it was the same week that I needed to go to Seattle to pick up a new truck, and I didn't want to bring a student along with that. And I told the training department, it's like, yeah, I'll take a student, but keep in mind, I'm parking my truck for 3 days to go buy another one. So, you know, this guy's got to be cool hanging out in a truck or a motel room or something like that for a few days while I go purchase another truck. And the training department was, yeah, that's fine. Well, you know, this guy that we have in mind, he wouldn't mind. And so met the guy, and it's really important on my truck to, you know, before you get on my truck, you need to do all your laundry, do it really good, and take a shower and all that, because the dorm rooms at Sierra, England had bed bugs really bad. So I'd always, you know, any student that got on my truck, I'd be like, hey, you know, leave the dorm, take a shower. After your shower, do your laundry. After your laundry, go take another shower. Do not return to the dorm. Come straight to my truck. And so I met this dude, and he had the shirt on his back. He had this old U-Haul, you know, those packing blankets. It's like recycled wool or something. It would be like sleeping with an SOS pad. There's nothing soft about one of those things. But that was his blanket, and he had instead of body wash or soap or anything like that, he had Dawn dish soap, and he was so happy about that. I was like, yeah, that's what I use for body wash and stuff. I really like it. And I was like, okay. Anytime I met somebody that was kind of weird, before they got on the truck, if I knew that there was something a little bit off with their wiring, I'd take them to the cafe, and we just sit there, and I want to know about your philosophy on life. I want to know how serious you are about this trucking thing, because, you know, I want somebody of sound mind, you know, and I'll decide, you know, how serious they're either taking the training or going to receive the training that I'm going to give. So I we sat down there at the cafe, and we're talking, and I found out that he was a out of work construction worker. This is like 2013. The housing market had kind of come back by then, so it didn't really make sense that he was an out of work construction worker. I mean, anyone that can swing a hammer can get work. But he also managed apartments and stuff like that, and so I knew he was, he was a hard worker at least, so I was cool with that. And he'd never had a driver's license or anything like that, and CR England had recruited him through the homeless shelter there, and instead of getting a driver's license, he got a CDL, straight to the big leagues, right? And he'd gone through training and stuff, and I figured I was a phase 2 or phase 1 trainer, so basically you finish school and then I'm the one that's out here teaching you how to shift and brake and not kill people or yourself. And so I did a little interview there, a little dinner, and he was bragging about the clothes he was wearing. He got them all at Goodwill, and his shoes were donated and all that stuff. And I was just like, okay, well, we're going to go to Walmart, and you're going to get yourself a pillow and a blanket, a real blanket, not a U-Haul shipping blanket, and get you some clothes to change and change into. You're going to get some real body wash, toothbrush, toothpaste. Basically, I teach the guy how to adult, or help him be an adult. But it was fine. Everyone's welcome on my truck at that time. I'll help out anyone that's got heart, and they really seemed like they wanted to get into it, and he did. He really wanted to be a truck driver. I guess his dad was a truck driver and all that, and so he had heart, and that's what mattered, at least to me. So we go to Walmart. I get a shopping cart. He gets a shopping cart. I say, your budget's $50. Go get what I told you. You're going to be on the truck. You need at least a week's worth of clothes, because we're not going to stop everywhere and do laundry. And we split off, and I said 30 minutes back here at the registers. So I come back, and he's just standing there at the registers, and he's like, man, I can't do this. And I was like, what? I was like, you don't want to be a truck driver? What do we got going on here? We'd literally only gone a mile from the school. He's like, I can't take your generosity. I just, let's just hit the road. And I was like, no, this is a requirement. I didn't ask you to get stuff. I told you to get stuff. I need you to be comfortable. I need you to, get proper rest. I need you to be clean. I need you. No, you are getting this, or you're not getting on my truck. And I finally convinced him, and so we went around and got him his blanket and some extra clothes and underwear and all that crap, and we hit the road. And I was taking a trip from Salt Lake back to Reno, and then from there I was going to park the truck, fly to Seattle, pick up the truck I just bought, bring that truck back to Salt Lake City, and then come back home. So it was going to take about 3 days. So we took a trip. We took a trailer from Salt Lake to the McCarran, DC for Walmart, and we spent a little bit of time. I let him drive a little bit. He couldn't shift to save his life, but he was okay with backing and docking and hooking up trailers and all that. And he paid attention to the mirrors really well, and so I knew there was a foundation I could build on with his training. It wasn't going to be a complete shit show. So I thought. We get to Reno. I parked the truck there at Sierra Sid's. That's a TA truck stop. And I was like, okay, you understand, I'm going to leave for 3 days. You're okay on this truck? And he's like, yeah, it's fine. I was like, you can run it. You can run the air conditioning. There's a restaurant here. There's a truck stop. Make sure you get your showers. Here's $200. I want to make sure you're comfortable. And here's the thing, that was a supplement to the money he was already making at Sierra England, because they were paying, I think in training you were making $450 a week, something like that, and it was loaded on a com data card or something like that, so he could get his money. It wasn't a situation where he was, you know, destitute or anything. But I gave him that extra $200 and I said, be comfortable. I don't care if you go to McDonald's 5 times a day, if you get a motel room. I don't care if you walk into the casino and blow it all. I want you to be comfortable, and if you need more, let me know. And he was like, no, I can't. I'm not taking your money. I don't feel right about it. And I was like, I don't care whether you take it or not. I'm leaving it in the cup holder, and I'm going to Seattle. So, you know, I didn't mean to be an asshole or anything, but, you know, I had business to take care of, and he did too. He had his book work to get done and do his tests on the Qualcomm and send it into training and stuff. He had work to do, even though we weren't traveling or anything like that. He could at least finish some of his training and get ahead of the ball a little bit. So left him there, and I don't know what that dead animal was in the road. I get to Seattle, I buy the truck, I get it back to Salt Lake City. I rented a car, went back to Reno, get back on the truck, and, you know, it was about 3 days later, like I said, and he was happy to see me. He's like, man, I really enjoyed my time here, and you know, I was like, cool, you know, are you all showered and ready to go? And he's like, oh, I didn't shower. And I was like, oh, what? He's like, no, man, I went to the marina and just swam around. I was like, the Sparks Marina? He's like, yeah, that place is awesome. I was like, oh, no. So the Sparks Marina was a reclaimed gravel pit, and when Reno flooded in 1997, I think, they filled the gravel pit with all the floodwaters from downtown Reno, and we're gonna turn it into, you know, a cool little destination. You know, friggin' nice apartments, and, you know, at the Sparks Marina. You know, never mind, it was an old gravel pit. Worst thing about it though is Sparks, Nevada actually used to be called Rail City, and it was a terminus for the Central Pacific Railroad. You know, the trains would go over Donner Pass, and you know, these helper engines would sit either in Truckee or in Reno, Nevada. I guess they had a big shop in Reno where they rebuild the locomotives and all sorts of crap. But over the years, and we're talking over 100 years, you know, they're dumping oil, they're dumping fuel, all sorts of crap in the ground. And when they first filled that marina, oil used to bubble up from underneath. And wait, is oil heavier than water? Water's heavier than oil? I think oil floats to the top, right? I'm sure it does. Man, I should have paid more attention at school. Anywho, they were having issues with oil coming up in the marina from deep underground, you know, and so they do have a system there to separate the oil from the water and try to keep the marina clean. And they put these aeration fountains because the Canadian geese come down every year and bring botulism to all the man-made lakes around Reno. They crap in the water. And so let's just say swimming around in the Sparks Marina is not exactly the most cleanly thing you can think of. And I told him, no, dude, you go in the truck stop, you get a real shower before we hit the road. I'm not impressed with your swim around friggin' Sparks Marina and bathe in Dawn dish soap. And we hit the road later that afternoon. We booked a load, or I'd booked a load, going back east, I guess, and it gave me time to train him on his shifting and stuff. So between Reno and Salt Lake City, we took every off-ramp and every on-ramp, and usually that'll help, you know, a student learn how to shift. And by the time we get to Salt Lake City, you know, it's 22 exits later, I believe, 500 miles later, yeah, you'll learn how to shift. You'll figure it out, right? And like I said, he was a nice enough guy, and I remember he asked me, you know, what's your CB handle? And you know, I've got my CB over here. I rarely use it. I'm gonna go ahead and shut it off right now because I don't use it. And I said, no, I don't really have a CB handle, but yours is Jesus. And he goes, what? And I was like, well, yeah, you used to be a carpenter, right? I was like, yeah, I was. I was like, yeah, your name's you're Jesus. And he was really impressed by that. I was like, I like that. And so me and Jesus are rolling along, and he was doing pretty good in his training. He was learning how to shift, and we were taking a load to Jonesboro, Arkansas. We were running team speed, and dispatch was pretty happy with us, and we were going to start moving freight, you know, a lot faster, and that's when I start making money as a trainer. You know, if we can bounce coast to coast, that's when life becomes worth it. You know, at least riding in a goddamn truck with somebody that's never driven before. That's when things get profitable, when you start running team speed. We're heading to Jonesboro, Arkansas, and I was about 3 hours short, and he took over. I remember it was during a thunderstorm, and we had to run the wipers, you know, fast as they could go. And he was okay. He drove, and I set the GPS. We went over the route, and I said, you know, we'll get off on this highway, and then it's going to be 2-lane to Jonesboro, Arkansas, and you know, I've been on this route before. It's not that bad, and you know, there's no hills or anything like that. Just it's a 2-lane highway. And I went to sleep for a little bit, and I woke up to the sound of these windshield wipers making that scraping noise, you know. And basically, he had left them on full blast the entire time I'd slept. We'd gone through the thunderstorm, you know, maybe a half hour later, and he had left those wipers on for like 2 hours straight on a dry windshield. And I was like, you might want to shut my wipers off, brother. Kind of damaged my windshield there. And he's, oh, I didn't realize it. And he's over here white knuckling it. He's really holding on to the steering wheel, and he's missing gears, and he's stopping too hard, and we're on that little 2-lane highway, and the trees go over and stuff. It's a farm road. It's a highway. It's an actual highway. It wasn't like I was taking him down a dirt road or nothing. But he was so so nervous and stuff. So I sat in the passenger seat and kind of guided him along. I didn't have any hours, so I couldn't drive. And we get to Jonesboro, and he's kind of shaken up, and I was like, okay, let's get this trailer dropped. It was a drop and just pick up an empty. And we were low on fuel, so we needed to go to the nearest fuel station, which was off network. And I had taken over at that point. I was just like, well, I'll show you how to fuel off network, and we'll get through the night, because we need to take that empty trailer to go pick up the next load that was going from somewhere in Arkansas. I think it was Little Rock, Arkansas, back to Portland. It was a really good team run. I was really excited to get out on the big money like that. And so we get over to that fuel island, and I call the fuel department and get a pre-authorization for an off-network fuel stop, and get out there, and you know, I was like, you know, come on over and I'll show you how to do it on the pump and stuff. And he's like, all right, yeah, man, I'll do it, I'm good. And I'm standing there at the fuel pump, and I hear the passenger door open and close, and nothing. I look around, and he didn't walk around the front of the truck, and he wasn't walking around the back by the trailer or anything. And well, that's kind of weird. So I walk around, and he's nowhere to be found. He's not, you know, he didn't step out to smoke a cigarette or something. He wasn't a smoker. And I'm looking around, I don't see anything or anybody. And so I get up in the passenger door over here, and nothing. And I look in the sleeper, and there's his cell phone on the center of the bed. There's his bag, and you know, all the stuff that he bought at Walmart. And the only thing he took with him was his U-Haul blanket. And I thought, did he abandon me? There's no friggin' way, you know. And here's the thing, is I've had that happen before. I've had students puss out and just leave. So I wasn't honestly that surprised, but I walk into the gas station or fueling station there, and I was like, hey, do you guys have video surveillance on these fuel pumps? I think my guy just left me at the fuel island. And they're like, our cameras aren't working. Sorry, can't help you. They're like, shit. I was like, well, did you see this blonde dude? You know, just kind of a short guy who came in the truck stop, you know, kind of look homeless, you know? They're like, no, you know, answers to the name Jesus. No. I called dispatch, you know, after hours. I was like, hey, I think my co-driver just abandoned me. I haven't heard from him. His cell phone's sitting on my bed, and I don't want to leave this fuel stop I'm sitting at, so I'm going to park here for the night and try to figure out what's going on. And they're like, yeah, you know, we'll stand by. And I walk into the fueling station there, a little truck stop, and I told the manager what happened. There was no truck parking there at all. You know, this is 11 o'clock at night. And he's like, well, I'll have you park over on the automotive, you know, the gasoline side, and park under a light. And if this guy comes back, I'll send him your direction. And I was like, yes, please do. Because I don't know what the hell's going on. You know, I lost the dude. I felt bad, you know. But sat there, and I woke up the next morning, and my driver manager called, and he's like, yeah, I kind of heard what happened. We haven't heard anything from him. The training department hasn't said anything, but if he's not there, we're just going to keep you rolling. And I was like, I'll wait another couple hours just in case he's having breakfast somewhere. But yeah. And so I wound up running from, you know, Jonesboro, Arkansas, down to Florida, all over the East Coast, really, up to New York and New Jersey, and hadn't heard anything. And I called the training department every day. It was like, please let me know if this guy calls you and gets in contact with you guys, because he left his bag. I don't know what to do with it. You know, he seemed like a nice enough guy. Our training was going good. He was getting ready to go, you know, team speed with me and stuff. And thinking back on it, you know, that when he was panicking with the windshield wipers going and stuff, he said something to me. He was like, I don't know why they make us drive these big trucks. We should start off in like a school bus or a dump truck or something. We shouldn't be driving these big trucks on these little roads like this. And, you know, he was really nervous about that. He kept reiterating that, and I didn't think nothing of it at the time. And so I'm bouncing all over the country and stuff, or that side of the country. And I get to Ohio, and I had hired somebody to drive my other truck that I just bought. And he was a pretty experienced dude. He was going to ride with me. I was going to give him a ride to Salt Lake City to start driving for me and my other truck. And, you know, everything was going to be cool. So I was going to pick him up in Toledo, Ohio. And that's where he lived. And his wife was going to drop him off. And I parked there at the TA. It's got a Taco Bell, and I think it's across the street from a Pilot or something. It's a nice little truck stop. Well, as nice as a TA can get, right? So I get parked in there, and I got a few hours before my new hire shows up, and this bag had been riding in my truck for a while, and it was stinking up my truck, and I kept buying Febreze. That was the only time I bought Febreze on my truck, because I usually, you know, whenever I need to fart, I just roll down this window and stick my ass out, and I try not to eat in the truck and stuff. I keep smells to a minimum, right? But this fucking bag kept stinking, and I didn't want to throw it away or anything in case we found the guy, I can give him back his clothes that I bought and everything. And I'd had enough. I was sitting in the truck and just waiting for my new hire, and I was like, I called the training department. I was like, you haven't heard anything from this guy? They're like, no, not a word. He's like, I've been riding around with this bag and it stinks. I need to get it off my truck to make room for my new hire, my second seat. And they're like, yeah, go ahead and throw it away. It's not a big deal. We haven't heard from him. No call, no show, right? And so I pick up the bag, and you know, I wanted to see what was inside it that was making it stink so bad. And I'm rifling around in there, and a friggin' crack pipe, and, you know, bag of fucking rocks, and I was like, oh, I rode with a goddamn crackhead. Not only that, I rode with a crack pipe all over the East Coast. And not only that, I kept getting pulled into, you know, KReno England had a really bad safety record. And I pull into all these different inspection stations in Kentucky and Georgia and Florida. And I was getting pulled in on red all the time. And yeah, I'd had like 3 different level 3 inspections that week. And my career flashed before my eyes looking at that goddamn crack pipe, and the smell, you know, that weird chemical, just, oh, it was awful. I was so pissed. I grabbed that bag, kicked open the passenger door, and threw it out, walked around. I thought about friggin' burning it on the spot, but there was a dumpster a couple spots over, and I threw it in the dumpster. Before I did that, though, I took pictures of everything that was in that bag and, you know, cover my ass. You know, I don't want to, you know, reporting me to KReno saying, hey, there was very important stuff in that bag. I was like, yeah, you want to see how important that stuff was. I wanted to make sure to cover my ass, so I took pictures of everything, and I got back in the truck, and I'm sitting there, and I'm just boiling, holding on to that steering wheel. You know, my driver's not going to be there for a couple more hours. And there was this black, it's like the big Jeep Cherokee, like bigger than a big Jeep Cherokee, like a, what is it, Jeep Patriot? Is that what they were? And it's going around, it's stopping at all the trucks that somebody's sitting in at the truck stop. And usually they're selling like bootleg CDs or you know, blankets, or you know, team blankets, you know, Raiders blankets or whatever. You know, it's usually selling junk, right? And they stop in front of me, and I look up, and this beautiful girl stands up through the sunroof and is waving at me, butt naked. And she's all like, wow, and I was just like, wow, you know. And you know, unfortunately, I was happily married. So, and her boyfriend that was pimping her out, he kept pointing at her, he's like, huh? You know, and I was like, no, man, I can't. And he's like, come on, you know, and I was like, no, go away, you know, off with you. And she turned around and double birded me. And they took off. Oh, that was so funny. And they left, and then my new hire rolled in, parked right there behind them, and I got out of the truck, and he's like, hey, how you doing? You having a good day? And I was like, yeah, it's improved, you know. But we hit the road, and I got him back to Salt Lake City, got him in my new truck, and yeah, I ran 2 trucks. I was in KReno England 1 year, and I had 2 trucks. So, you know, a lot of people talk shit about big mega carriers and stuff like that, but if you got strong will and a good work ethic and stuff, you can make it work. And I was one of the few people that did, I guess. But so weeks later, I kept calling training, and I just said, you know, I need to know what happened to this dude. And finally, I get through somebody in training, and they're like, oh yeah, that guy, he's really doing good. He's been on the road here a couple weeks, and we got him in a truck, and he's real happy. And I said, really? Because I was the driver he abandoned in Jonesboro, Arkansas, and I'm kind of wondering how he got his job back. And they were like, oh, really? I was like, yeah. And not only that, I found his crack pipe that he left behind in my truck. Let me have your email address, and I'll send you the pictures. And they're like, oh, really? I was like, yeah. They're like, wow, well, the next time you get to Burns Harbor or Salt Lake City, let's discuss this. And I was pretty close to Burns Harbor, so I pulled in there, and they put a safety hold on me, so I couldn't get any loads dispatched out of there until I talked to safety and security or whatever the friggin' department was, and get drug tested. if there's any suspicious activity or a suspicious report, you get drug tested. And I had reported that I had a crackhead on my truck. So I pissed clean, and then, you know, the safety manager, we sat down in a room and discussed the pictures on my phone and the pictures that I emailed and everything that happened. And apparently the guy left me in Jonesboro. He hitchhiked from Jonesboro, Arkansas to Burns Harbor, got back into training, and friggin' yeah, I got back into training, and he reported me for being aggressive and forcing him to drive down a dirt road in the middle of the night with no fuel in the truck. And, you know, I was, you know, he reported all this bullshit about me, and, you know, said I should never train anybody ever again. I was aggressive and never showered, and, you know, all this crap. I was like, wow, that's really interesting. And he's like, you want to trust somebody that has that little experience and give him a truck while I'm out here with 2 different trucks, you know, running hundreds of thousands of miles a year, running team training for this friggin' company, and you give him a job? That's just the lack of integrity just friggin' pissed me off like you wouldn't believe. But yeah, I lost Jesus, and you know, that $200 that I gave him, I think he'd only used about 100 of it. I think he gave me back 100, but I think he went and bought himself $100 in crack and had himself a grand old time. But yeah, that's my story about losing Jesus. And I don't know, maybe he's still out here somewhere, you know, driving for Swift, or imagine if he's still driving for CR England. Friggin', what, 10 years ago? 10 to almost 9 years later? Yeah, so that's my story about losing Jesus. I lost him. That story was in my book, Trucking Bad. I think it was chapter 5 or chapter 6. I haven't decided if I'm going to continue writing it or not. I had about 12 chapters written, but I hope you guys appreciate it. Please like, subscribe, and be safe out there. Check on your loved ones, and I will catch you later.